Hello and welcome to IBM TV. Today I'm joined by Richard Weir, Managing Director and Founder of Interfacio. Richard, welcome to IBM TV.
Pleasure to be here.
Can you start by telling us about Interfacio?
Yes, Interfacio is a company that was founded 15 years ago, specifically to provide a specialist search and recruitment service for manufacturers in the broadcast and music and audio technology business. So we work a lot around media technology, broadcast equipment, suppliers and vendors. I formed the company because I'd been working in the industry for 16 years on the sales, marketing and business side, and I felt there was a complete gap in terms of specialist recruitment services. So we put the business together 15 years ago now, it seems like a long time, to try and provide an informed industry expert search service. So myself and my colleagues, we're not recruiters and HR people by profession, we're industry people, industry business people who've developed a specialist recruitment service. And that's what we do. We work with 90% of our clients are probably manufacturers of either hardware, software or solutions in the business. And we work very internationally. So we do a lot of our business in the US and North America, a lot in Europe, some in the UK and some in Middle East and Asia.
So over 15 years, I mean, the industry's changed beyond all recognition. So presumably what you have to do to find the right people or tie the right people with the right company, that must have changed massively as well.
It actually has, and it's really interesting because I would say if you look 10 years back, most of what we were doing was working with people who came to us who were looking to develop their careers, looking to move on, maybe just looking for a job, and we were working with closely and representing and placing those people. Now, last time we analysed it wasn't very long ago, less than 50% of the people we place are people that we knew before we started the search. So it's a lot more search driven, so we're a very search orientated firm. You could call us a recruitment agency, you could call us a search firm. I mean, we're doing very much proactive search, looking at the passive candidate marketplace. So we are working closely with companies that we know well and working on usually fairly strategic projects where we've been involved in the originating discussions around the project, the strategic goal for the business. We sometimes even formulate the organizational plan of who they look for, and then we go off and find them. And we don't always look in the industry. We are looking with and working with industry people, but we're sometimes looking at talent and skills from outside the industry. And more, as you say, things have changed a lot in 15 years. In the same way they've changed for recruiters, they've changed for manufacturers of broadcast solutions and hardware and software. Obviously IP, distributed services, network, storage, asset management. A lot of the skills are coming from the bigger telco, software, IT industries, and a lot of the business model has changed. So it's much more about solution selling, much less about selling boxes, and hence the skills of the people we're looking to bring in are different. So we're all about trying to find culture fit with our clients, and to do that we need to understand the industry, the company, the brand, understanding the culture fit and understanding the skills.
Do you think, having been in the industry yourself, that puts you in a much better position to understand the companies you're recruiting for?
Completely, to the point where we will sometimes probably not put ourselves forward as experts or particularly suited to a search if we're asked about it, if we really don't understand the domain. So absolutely, we need to kind of understand it to be knowledgeable and feel we're adding some value. And it works both ways. It works in terms of selling the roles, explaining about the company's business to a prospective candidate. That's not about saying who they are, because they might know of the company, but they might not know the current story of that company. So we're often having to start by filling in, do you know much about their business? Well, you think you knew about it, but it was 5 years ago. Actually, let me tell you what's happening now with that company and with their market and with their customer channels and technology. So that's part of it. And also evaluating the fit for the client at the same way. It's because we've got that insight. And all of our principal consultants have worked in this business, in business roles that are nothing to do with recruitment. So I think last time we counted it was something like 45 years between the three of us. Previous experience in the industry.
So what is the job market looking like? You mentioned about how telcos are coming in and the IT industry is coming in. And do we have a skills shortage? Is it buoyant? Is it getting better?
It's really interesting. I mean, on the technology side, because we work in R&D and engineering, so we work in pure technology roles as well, it's difficult because some of those bright young graduates are getting sucked off into automotive or into gaming or other segments. So it's hard sometimes to find the core enthusiasts that 30 years ago were building television studios or recording studios in their bedroom. They're not doing that so much. So there's a bit of that. But also the business skills. The business skills needed to be successful in 2017, whether it's in sales or marketing or product management, are much more refined. The businesses that are growing are often invested, sometimes by private investment and equity, and the growth plans are quite conscious, and those businesses need 2017 skills. So yes, there's a little bit of formal trained business skills. A thing we hear and talk about a lot is CRM. You know, there will be companies who've been doing their business for 50 years and have only just started working with CRM. But from a strategic hiring point of view, they want people who are, you know, thinking and breathing and living CRM as a methodology. Yeah. So that's an example of a very simple business skill that is important. Same with marketing. This industry hasn't typically grown formal marketing people. You know, marketing people grow out of a product specialist who started doing marketing and could do it okay, but they weren't a formally schooled marketer. Whereas now, with a lot of the complexity around marketing and content management and trafficking and how you want to tie your marketing with your sales and your business plan, it needs a fairly sophisticated level of marketing education. So in particular, marketing is an area where we often search from other segments, where we're very well schooled business marketers who happen to have the affinity to work with the sort of technology that's in the broadcast or music or audio technology space.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting because for me, content's one of my sort of passions, and I think especially companies around here, you know, we've had here where we're filming here, we've had people coming past and they actually think we're doing a product demo, you know, and they'll stop and they'll look at the cameras, look at the lights and stuff. So I think, you know, if you can get the right people in that aren't necessarily from the industry but have that passion for driving digital, you know, it's digital transformation, isn't it?
It is, and it's all coming together. I mean, the other thing is, you know, the classic sort of perception of recruiters is all we're doing is we're sort of circulating people around, you know, a network of companies. I'm not saying we never do that, but it doesn't happen very often because it's not very valuable. You know, it's much more interesting and it's much more valuable when we are able to bring someone slightly laterally from a sort of left field position into a different segment or a different market or a different type of company, and that's the interesting piece. Needless to say, the projects which are difficult are the ones we tend to be given in the first place, because, you know, our clients don't come to us to find the people that are easy to find. They come to us to find the people who are difficult to find. Yeah. So it does tend to be continually challenging, but it's changed a lot.
So Richard, we're seeing growth in certain sides of the industry is higher than in others, and do you think this is going to continue, or will things start to level out?
No, I think it's a very dynamically changing market. I think technology and the consumer is meaning that the market is quite agile. Some of the bigger companies are absolutely having to reinvent themselves in terms of their go-to-market strategy, their product offering, how they sell their own service and product. SaaS has been a big factor, I think. Software as a service for some of the big players. Completely changed how they're doing business and how they're engaging with their customer. At the same time, from the consumer-driven end, how are people consuming program? How are they consuming content? It's completely changed. So I think that will continue, whether it's in a retail complex or at a sports stadium or a gig or at home watching TV. It's all changing. But the interesting thing for us is we've tended to work with a lot of hardware manufacturers, historically perhaps because that's where the sort of inherent product value has been seen to be, the inherent sort of profitable business model. And we still find ourselves working with people at the front or the back end of the hardware chain, you know, whether it's microphone or speaker or camera or, you know, distribution. The bit in the middle, all of the asset management, all of the content, all of the manipulation, you know, is sort of, is a harder one to define how that's evolving, because it's software, and it's software for so many different companies. It's an interesting one, but certainly on the recruitment side, the same thing is happening. The tools and the landscape of recruitment with things like LinkedIn and Facebook has immeasurably changed how companies recruit. So they're much better at recruiting in-house sometimes, but they still need partners like us to do specialist search work.
So the way companies recruit has changed and evolved. how about the way people approach what they want from a job? I mean, no longer is there, you'll join a job at 16, a company at 16, you'll work the whole way through.
That's true.
Are people bouncing around more? Have what they expect from a job changed?
That's a really interesting question, because certainly the sort of the Gen Y, Gen Z even, have a totally different attitude to the next job. It's not been seen as a career, it's been seen as a next stepping stone. And we deal with everybody on the spectrum, from graduate to people who are close to retirement. And yes, that's changed a little bit, although I think by the time we're getting involved, we're working with people who are having an intelligent conversation with themselves about their career. Whether that's a 5-year horizon or a 15-year horizon, there's always the conversation around why are you doing this, where are you trying to get to. We're always very keen to take the focus off the here and now, because human nature is we want to do a nice job today, which sounds like it's going to be fun and pay me the right amount of money, and I know I can do it and it's going to be good, but actually the right way to be thinking about it is where is it taking me, what's it building, and where I'm going to be in 10 years with it. So we tend to start from that point.
Well, Richard, thank you very much for joining us on IBM TV.
Pleasure, thanks for having me.
So you can see the latest news stories and browse all the latest jobs as well on interfacio.com.